While the Grey Company journeyed south to the aid of Aragorn, we came upon a Dunlanding hag named Gwillian, called the Old Woman of the Mountain. She sought to raise an army of ancient evil to aid the White Hand against Rohan. It was our duty, Amlon's and mine, to keep her at bay.
Welcome everyone, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and this is the 8th episode of our Skirmish timeline series, Storm on Methedras. And our object here is to clear out each of the areas and then fend off counterattacks. Usual style for an offensive skirmish. Now this particular skirmish is a bit more chaotic than most. During the counterattacks especially, where things can get really rough because you can be fighting the people from the next area at the same time as you're fighting the counterattacks. We'll see that later. Now I will be running this, or I am running this at tier 2. I figured after seeing what happened in the Icy Crevasse, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. The biggest threat we have is that one of the rangers will decide to get killed, which is not unknown in this particular skirmish. Especially after they do something really crazy like bring in the entirety of the next area when you're in the middle of a counterattack. It's been known to happen. It's also been known to happen with skirmish soldiers, so it doesn't happen too often with the archer. Though it has been known to happen on occasion when you're fighting with warriors or banner guards or protectors. So I suspect that if you're using a protector, you're probably standing far enough back that it won't be much of a problem. But if you're using a warrior, you might also be if you're a melee type using a warrior, that's when there's the greatest danger. Now the latest episode of the Brax clan, which you can find on mymiddle-earth.com at the Locho player site, that demonstrates what can happen when you have a guardian with a protector in the same mix. Now, why do I have the Storm on Methedras in the penultimate position? And that is because this is obviously set after the Grey Company sets off, because this is set in Dunland on Mount Methedras, which is the southernmost peak of Misty Mountains. So therefore we're way down south. And we are in company of Rangers of the Grey Company, which obviously means the Grey Company is already formed and set out. So this will be after they enter into Dunland, which would be around the time period of Book 4. And in fact, in Book 4, when you're questing around near the time of Book 4, you also run into Gwillian in the Old Woman of the Mountain in another quest there. And since you're running into her there, I presume that this is some sort of sequel to that. Which makes it rather weird that the skirmishes has a minimum level of 20. That is then that since this is with the Grey Company, this is after the Grey Company sets out, therefore I better kill this guy before the Rangers get to him. Yeah. Because if he's a supernumerary, the last thing I want to do is to have to Grey Company go out and get him while the next counterattack comes in. Alright, good. I think I'll be able to snag these without getting the attention of the Forestborn Reaver, which is my main goal here. So sometimes I like to fall back here just to make sure that they come back towards me, just in case there are any range types in there. Because that's when things get really dicey, is when you have range types in the group, and then the rangers run up to get the range types. And when that happens, then you wind up getting a large number of people that you don't intend to get. Because they go up, they run, they're seen by other people like that Force-born Reaper up there. And things get really nasty. Now, it's not as bad in the third counterattack because it's the last counterattack. And we get our encounter here. The encounter comes halfway through the third. I better start using these. Blade of Pestilence. Yuck. Alright, that's sort of the equivalent of the Bearer of Blight, where where that particular encounter boss has the same abilities as a Bearer of Blight. That's pretty common in this skirmish for encounter bosses to have lieutenant abilities. And very often you don't see the lieutenants in here because their role is being taken up by the encounter bosses. So it sort of mixes things up a little bit. Right now, that takes care of that. That's one lieutenant out of the way. Because one of the things that really gets dicey is when you have two lieutenants patrolling all the way right next to each other. It gets very difficult to pull one without the other. And while it is possible to fight two lieutenants at a time, for example, in Assault the Ringlade's lair, that's very common, since that's the only way you can do the third counterattack at each of the Baileys. You don't want to be fighting two lieutenants while you're fighting all the rest of the mobs in the area also. Alright, let's pull the dog, and that should also bring us that Zealot. That way I can pull the Zealot without damaging him. And that should take care of that. As I said, all the rest of the skirmishes, except for, of course, for the last one, which, if you've been following this series, is obviously going to be Tuckborough, I am setting before the Grey Company sets out. Since the Grey Company hasn't set out and all the rest of them, they obviously have to be before one that includes the Grey Company. Oh, okay. When people are posting things on messages in the trade channel, I said, wait a minute, how can I get that off of Lieutenant? Alright, it wasn't. That was someone posting in the trade channel. Alright. So we had things... So the first gate was pretty straightforward. And that's the way you like it to go. So that makes it very easy and to complete, and it probably even could do it at tier 3 with that type of situation. Now what I wanted to show you here is, if you see there's the tip of Orthanc right there. So that shows you how far south we are. If we could see, yeah, there we go. If we could see Orthanc, which is the home of Saruman. Alright, this is going... Alright, good. Sometimes when you have the trees right next to the gate, they go in and out, in and out, in and out, because they're too large to spawn at that location. But apparently it's one of the spawn locations for mobs in this skirmish. And when you have collisions with objects in there, you sometimes get strange things. I'm sure you've seen that enough times in skirmishes. Alright, here's the second area. So once again, we go through what we did during the first one. And this is the one that even gets more dicey, because you have... Let's see if I can pull this goat. Oops. probably a little... Oh, yeah, because the idea there is to get... I didn't want that goat to be too close to us when there are others in the area. Because all those patrollers, including that lieutenant, the goat was pulled when they were in the area, then things would get really chaotic. Now at this time I am reasonably well geared weapon-wise. I do have first stage, not first stage, obviously not first stage since they're not out yet. Second age weapons on them both. In fact, I think this may be the first time I've, or at least it's very definitely the earliest I've ever had 2 second agers on my character. Because it's a rare thing for me to get them that way. But in this time around, you've got the symbols already at the skirmish camp. There was a free symbol. Ouch. Alright. There's the free symbol at the end of the epic. And it so happens that my best one in the crafting guild's why is my woodworker, since my woodworker is the one who is the most potentially useful. So that's the first one that I leveled up to full guild rep. Alright. Yeah, this is going pretty smoothly. It's a good thing I did this at tier 2. I was wondering how would things go if we had a complete meltdown case like you occasionally have, with the rangers charging in and all that weird stuff. And we do have this frost grim coming at us. But he's the last opponent we have before Blade of Blood. Oh, that's the problem with Frost Grims, is they like to go all over the place. But it's down. Alright, good. Must have blown up my... I mean, she was there just a moment ago. I guess a final explosion from the Frost Grim. That's another trait of Frost Grims. I think I hear a Bearer of Blight in the air. But at least he didn't pull him. Okay, an accidental pull, but it did not happen until after the counterattack. So all was well. And as I explained in the last one, this is also my best developed character by far. In that I have all the trait points for this character. The only character that I'm likely to get all the points with, because I've managed to... Okay, not only did I get the level cap, but I managed to finish all of the class quests. And I have the class quests and all the class deeds. And with all those complete, I have a total of 15 traits from that. Plus, I've done all the quests, at least all the quest lines. There are probably a couple of stray quests that are a couple of stray optional quests that I haven't done in Western Rohan, but that doesn't affect my class traits. Alright. Now the idea then is to have the final episode is going to be run and posted on New Year's Day, 2014, of course. And when I do that, I will be able... So that'll be posted on New Year's Day, and that will be my 2000 skirmish. I'm only one or two more skirmishes away from that number. So I should be ready for that. And that will be, as I said before, trouble in Tuckborough. But for now, let's see if we could take care of the old woman of the mountain. Now, the reason why I'm scrolling back like this is because we are snowing. Alright. Yeah, duh. Alright, we are going to be having a Drake make an entrance here, and I want to be able to see everything. Now, I don't go... with some classes, I would go forward right next to the hut. In this case, I like to start out here, grab the attention here, and then move forward. That way, hopefully my archer will be staying back. That's the entire point of that, is get my archer to stay back while I am here. You know what, therefore my archer does drag a little bit of the attention of the Drakelings, but I figure better the archer to be in danger than everybody, than the rangers or the drummers. Now the drummers, what they're doing is they're countering the effects of the Drake. Yeah, because as you see there, my archer is slowly going down. Alright, and in fact we are slightly out of we're temporarily out of combat, so I do get my archer resummoned just in time between the two combats. Nice and healthy again. Now you want to keep the drummers alive, because if you don't keep the drummers alive, then the old lady runs away. Which you could still finish the skirmish as she does, and she could take the last control point. So you win the skirmish and you finish it, but you don't get full marks. You don't get the marks for the defenders, and you don't get to loot the body here and get those extra relics and bounties. Though you do get to loot the chest, so you get double looting if you manage to keep the drummers alive and then defeat the old lady. And there we go, and that is Storm on Methedras, which is the 8th and next to the last entry in the timeline series, where this is set after the Grey Company has set out, which is why we have Saradin here and Methadras rather than up in Bury. And next time we'll be returning with Trouble in Tuckborough. Until then, this is Pine Leaf Needles. May your shield protect you, and your spear never break.